This is the end of a major, major cycle. It's like the closing of a landmark case that changes everything hereafter. In this case, man, it was delayed, it was denied, it was tried, it was appealed, it was mistrialed, it was retried, it was even escalated to the most supreme justice it could reach. And after a very long deliberation, a verdict was reached and a judgment has been rendered. Effective immediately, the divine hereby sentences you to a lifetime, multiple lifetimes of favor, fortune, and abundance to be served concurrently within this very breath of life and consecutively in every life ever after, eternally in perpetuity. What's up, everybody? It's me, Danae. I'm here with a message for you. It is July 3rd, 12:41 on the clock. And little backstory on the pre-shuffle. This was not in the plans today, but when I was putting away some cards, I needed to lift up this box to put something under it, and out slipped this card, right? So I go and grab the box, of course, to put it back in, but immediately I'm like, oh shoot, what the gold cards gotta say, because you already know I don't like using them, because when they're all the way down here on certain parts of the table, you know, you can't really see them too well. So I'm like, all right, well, let me see what the cards got to say. So I go to open the box, and then this card is on the top. So I'm like, okay, all right. So I pull them out, and then I just start looking at the very top, Cases that have been in deliberation for a long time now coming to a matter of swift justice and quick decision on behalf of the innocent, for payouts and retributions and settlements to not just to be made, but to actually be released. And it be so much that you don't even know, and so quickly that you don't even know either where it comes from or what to even do with it at such a magnitude. And it's definitely going to be the relief of cycles of disempowerment and even misfortune in spirit and in truth that now leads you to this point of stability, reassurance, not just in spirit, but again, also in truth, materially, financially, so to be well taken care of and vindicated. I didn't get that before. This is vindication for your trial and tribulation, for holding a will and a strength and a fortitude to see it to the finish. And here is the finish that I didn't even see before, and also the balance of it all, the spiritual justice that aligns with the physical one, actualized for once and for all, finally, for some. So that's what, and literally I didn't shuffle these cards at all. This is just from me pulling them out to put this one in, and that's the pre-shuffle message, okay? So I'm gonna put those to the side, and we're going to go back, and then of course here we are, and this is where I landed for, as I shuffled this deck, on the Wheel of Fortune. I didn't even see what was on the bottom. Let's see. Oh my goodness, the Temperance again. Oh my gosh, this is major, y'all. This is big. This is big. You ain't gonna miss this, and it ain't gonna miss you. So don't even worry. Don't even worry, baby. My goodness. All right. Just for good measure, we're gonna cut this thing and see what we got next. Just in time for Independence Day. Seven of Pentacles, long-standing investment, waiting, anticipate. Oh, that is not what I think it is again. Oh, I thought it was the Temperance, but just as well, the Nine of Cups again. Finally, like I said, vindication, satisfaction, fulfillment for all that you've invested in energy, time, patience, faith, maybe financially. Some may have actually physically been fighting a case for some time now that's been in deliberation, or fighting some ruling or judgment, or fighting for some right or justice in their lives that's taken a lot of energy and time, proactively perhaps, but even responsibly, just the patience of it all, to just believe that everything is working for your good, is also an invested interest in this outcome of vindication. And through prayer and supplication, perhaps. I'm hearing supplication, so I'm assuming that that's also a part of the invested energy, prayer and supplication, aligned with your faith for the best for the best ruling in your favor, on account of your innocence. And innocence, I ain't even gonna go there. Take it as it resonates, because if the word innocence makes you squirm, then that don't resonate with you. But if you receive it in the spirit that I am channeling it and transmitting it, then you know what real innocence is. And it doesn't mean you're perfect or without any fault, but it just means that in accordance with universal law, and of course natural law, is universal law is harder to maintain sometimes than the natural one, for real. But if you're in accordance with, in compliance with universal law, then that is the judgment of your innocence, not when anybody else thinks, or how anybody else measures you, or even how you measure yourself against others. It's about what the divine has to say regarding your actions and reactions to just life, to how life was going for you, to your lot in life, the trials and tribulations that you faced, the wins, even the fortunes, the favors. All of that has been taken into account, like somebody's life, like a life review up until this point, almost, is what I'm getting. There was a movie about that. I think it was like Billy Crystal. I don't remember exactly the name of it, but I remember this movie where they were in kind of like a purgatory in between heaven. I'll mess it up. I don't know if it was Billy Crystal, but it was one of those guys. They kind of all look like these particular guys that I'm thinking of, where they were pretty much having to review their life with this board of, I guess, like how they appreciated life when they were on earth. And there, at the end, there was a determination made. It was like, I think the guy was maybe like on life support, or at some stage of like a near-death experience, and this is what was happening, like in the subconscious or in the astral. And it was him and a woman, like a blonde woman, in this movie, and she was having a pretty fluid time, as opposed to him. Like there were some challenges in his experience in this purgatory space, and I forget what that was, but I think ultimately they both were released back into earth. But anyway, if you know that movie, there may be some relevance to what I'm saying, but that's what I'm seeing right now. And it's like there has been like a life review. Okay. I just got a hit. Like there could have been some close call with death that you didn't even know about, that you weren't aware of. Maybe some attempts on your life in the physical that were thwarted or that were blocked or whatever the case may be. The deliberation, the process, I'm getting like it kind of sped up to come to a final ruling and determination that would ultimately take capital punishment off the table. And here's the landmark aspect of it all. It's like being like redeemed from death row, which happens rarely, but it happens. But being redeemed from death row, and not just recycled back into general population to serve some other sentence, but actually being exonerated, being proven innocent of all charges. And what comes after that usually, but a big settlement or payout for wrongful wrongful conviction or something like that, based on the evidence. You know how it goes these days. Like that's actually been happening much more these days than it used to, with technology and people that are just more invested in the injustice for innocent people. A lot of people take those cases pro bono, as a matter of fact, to help people get out. There's whole organizations that help to exonerate people that were wrongfully convicted. Anyway, this feels much more spiritual to me than it is actual, but that's the vibe that I'm getting. All of that. This is an exoneration and a release of, perhaps, like I said, it's like the Six of Pentacles tied up in this bush here, which we already saw the Six of Pentacles, I think, in the other deck, right? In the gold deck. All of that finally being released to whom it is rightfully assigned to. And it bringing a great deal of contentment and security, balance, satisfaction, pleasure, happiness. It's like a wish come true or a dream come true that you would have never thought. Like somebody could have been persistent and diligent to work to prove their innocence for the rest of their days, just because, like, if you don't, who will, type of thing. But they may not have ever believed that they would be vindicated in the way that they are. Like I said, it's one thing to get off death row or to curb the death penalty. It's another thing to be exonerated, to be let out, to be, all charges completely lifted off of your record, to be compensated for the time that you spent imprisoned, and so on and so forth. Like, that's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about here. And it's been a long time coming, delayed process. But we know with the Knight of Pentacles that once it shows up, it's as good as gold. Like it's everything and more that it's like worth the wait. In a nutshell, it's worth the wait. Now, I can't say that, reflectively, and that even when I see stories like that, I'm like, damn, somebody spent 20 years in prison knowing full well they ain't do nothing wrong. That's a hard hit, to swallow. But they be looking so happy and relieved and almost like shocked to some degree too. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm a free man or whatever. But, I'm saying that to say that from my perspective, it's like you can't ever repay somebody for all that time that they lost. However, a couple million on the other end, and your freedom and a clean record and vindication ain't too bad. You know what I mean? Like, in the grand scheme of things, you might have never made a couple million in the trajectory that your life was going. Not to say money is everything, because time is obviously valuable, but not only that is that you get to be a landmark case that sets the tone for others to find their way out of false imprisonment as well. Because as I said, once one case is tried and has a successful outcome, that opens the floodgates for others. You know, I'm sorry, the landscapers are out and about, of course, at this very moment when I'm doing this message. But yeah, so that's what I'm getting. It's like it was worth the wait, and it pays out even bigger than what you could have anticipated. And perhaps, although from my perspective it's like, damn, but all the years lost, in the same breath, like I said, it somehow balances out. It somehow makes up for it in some way, shape, or form. And I'm reminded of a scripture that speaks to the years lost being restored, and the crops that the lotus ate being replenished. Like something, well, y'all know I be remixing, because for all the years I spent in the good book, sometimes it just doesn't come naturally to recite it on, you know, when I'm under the pressure to do so here. But I think you kind of, and I might even find the scripture if it matters to do so, if it, you know, if that theme persists. But that's the idea, that even what you thought was lost in terms of years, time, resources, energy, maybe even friends, family, experience, it'll all be restored in divine time. And it'll be like, you know, almost like you never lost anything at all, because what you gain is so much greater and plentiful than what you had in the first place, to some degree, you know, because there's some things that just can't be replaced, and, you know, but here's the stability of it all, but you won't feel the brunt of it. You know, like it'll be affirming in all the right ways. And this feels like a firm foundation that, like I said, once the Knight of Pentacles shows up, you can depend on that. You can take that to the bank, literally. So that might be what we're seeing here, like in spirit and in truth, like someone having a firm financial status that is secured and secure for them. You know, something that puts you in a position where, like, it just puts you in a position that you could have hardly really done on your own by yourself, or you may not have achieved, at least at this magnitude or in this timing, because a lot of Pentacles, it could be about time, on your own. Like it's a divine intervention of sorts. And of course, we know the divine's ways are not ours. So the way that they see fit to make you whole and complete and secure and stable and happy might be different than what you could have ever had in mind for yourself. But it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. It always is like well, I didn't have this in mind, or I didn't think about that, but I'm sure glad it is what it is now, you know. It always is the case. Definitely a lot of masculine energy here too, I'm just having to say. Oh, and then here comes the Queen of Swords. Okay, girl, okay. But she can sometimes have a very strong masculine presence comparative to the other queens, you know, like that direct, firm, assertive nature, especially with words, and certainly with judgment calls and discernment. That's what the Queen of Swords is good for. Could even be a lawyer or some type of professional in the legal system or in the justice system that is objective in their ruling and their decision making. So this isn't a deliberation that came lightly. As I said in the very beginning, it took a lot of time. There was a lot of detail that needed to be discovered in this case, that needed to be, I don't know all the legal jargon, but like I said before, it's been going through many phases, this thing. From being delayed, not being able to get in front of a judge or get in front of the proper, the right justice, the right judge, to get a proper lawyer or counsel on the case, to have a fair jury, it being tried in one regard, maybe having a ruling that was unfavorable at some point, and then appealed and retried again, and then maybe going through a mistrial, and then having to go back to the drawing board all over again, and then, as I said, escalated to a Supreme Court or Supreme Justice level, and finally, and what I didn't say, but in the pre-shuffle I was hearing, like, it took heaven and earth to come to a settlement concerning this case. It wasn't even just, one judge over the other or one entity of justice. It was like there needed to be a settlement reached between the council of heaven and earth, whatever that even means. But I heard that and I didn't say it. Well, and most practically, I can imagine that means in what agreement let's say in this case, I guess the defendant, maybe at some points was the plaintiff, I don't know, like whomever was on trial here, having to make agreement with the divine ruling in order for it to finally be carried out. Because of course we led with judgment, and then also the Wheel of Fortune came up in both decks. So it was like a decree that was established long before the trial even commenced, right? And long before even evidence was accrued. But there still needed to be an alignment made with the accused, an alignment of innocence, of honor, of integrity. Oh, that's what the Queen of Swords is, reaching this supreme state of integrity and personal truth that would like show and prove a level of undeniable innocence, like beyond a reasonable doubt type of energy. Okay. Or that their discernment and decision making was trustworthy beyond a reasonable doubt. That makes so much sense. Their communication, their discernment, decision making, and expression of truth in whatever way that materialize or actualize in what you say, in what you do, again, in the decisions that you make, the choices that you make, and what you allow yourself to receive audibly and perhaps even intuitively, as truth, and how you integrate with that or activate it in your life. Like all of those things were under an extensive deliberation between heaven and earth before this decision could be made, which is why it's so final now. Like there are no more appeals to make. There are no more considerations. There is no higher court for it to be escalated to. There is no other judge. Like it's been ruled with prejudice, I think is the term. Like there is no one else that can come and try to appeal this decision at this point. It's done. It's done. Wow. Case closed. Never to be reopened again. Not this one. And someone would be hard pressed to build a new case against someone that, you know, they have really no justifiable evidence against. No actual evidence. This is interesting. All right, I'm gonna get a couple more. Car said, you said case closed. What more is there to talk about? All right, we got the Page of Pentacles. Here's that token of appreciation. I feel like that offering, or it could be a rendering actually of someone to be clear. Like it's kind of giving me like what's the name, full vibes in this case, in a strange way. Like somebody being set off to live their new life, their new beginning, like start fresh. That's the energy is given. Let's see what's after that. Like their innocence, and it's in a tangible form. Back to what I was saying, it's not just like, oh yeah, you good, you were innocent all along, you're vindicated, you're set free, whatever. It's like, no, you getting some compensation, something to substantiate your trial and tribulation, and a new beginning with that new beginning, or to support that new beginning, so to speak. Not just a pat on the back or a thumbs up, you know, which could be enough for someone that was on death row, you know, or behind bars for an extensive time. That could be enough, but it's like, no, there's more. With the Judgment and with the Wheel of Fortune twice, that's like double for your trouble. Literally double for your trouble. Damn. That literally is what that is. 2 Wheel of Fortunes. Double for your trouble. Double for your trouble. And like I said when I saw this card earlier, to the point where you won't even know what to do with yourself, because you weren't even expecting all this. Like, I know sometimes the 2 of Pentacles can be like a struggling card, like scarcity almost, not having enough. But that's not what this is reading for me. When I saw it earlier, it didn't, and now especially. Because literally, he just doubled up from the Page to the 2. Just like that. Where what you thought would be enough to feel whole, to feel complete, to feel like, okay, I can live with this. The Divine is like, but wait, there's more. And then here you go. 2 Pentacles. What I say, in perpetuity, that you probably won't even be able to spend in a lifetime energetically at this rate, with all the good fortune and favor that's coming to you, because this is just the seed of good fortune and favor, because now you're in a position, having been vindicated, set free, liberated, your confidence restored, your innocence intact. You're in a position to multiply, to expedite a multiplication of resources now. You have, imagine somebody getting free, not just with their, you know, what they came in with, but with so much more, like I said, that you may not even have amassed in your lifetime, perhaps, you know, like not for sure, but it's possible that you would have never touched a couple million or so in your lifetime on an honest track in your life. And here you are with all of this at your fingertips, haven't paid a hefty price before it, you know, but still having it to show for now, and having the world at your disposal in terms of opportunities and ways to advance and multiply that offering, you know. That's that's something else. That's something else. And it's like, for all that you could reflect upon and say, like, damn, like, years lost, people lost, time, experience, memories, so on, so forth, and so on. What you have to gain as a result, and also the wisdom, here it is, that comes along with this experience, is invaluable to some degree. And it might be something to really have to adjust to, like how people have to adjust to being free, literally, to being a free person. It's something to be adjusted to have this new level of liberty and prosperity, abundance, favor, good luck, fortune on your side, of which up until this point didn't really seem all that plentiful. You know, it seemed like you had to really work for a lucky break or for a break at all. And now you're at the point where you got more than your hands can even manage. And it doesn't seem like that experience is slated to ever run out. Like I said, the sentence is favor, fortune, abundance, to be conserved, to be served. What's the word? I always forget this word. Not the opposite of concurrently. That means the multiple lifetimes of which the adverse experience, as I'm getting an alert in my ear from my phone, the multiple lifetime at 111, as oh my goodness, this is a new beginning, tripled. Now, okay, so now we're talking. Okay, I get it. These are 3 pentacles, so somebody is not just getting doubling up. They've gained 2 from what the one that they already had, and the only one that they thought they were going to possess. So somebody is getting triple for their trouble. Pardon me. Triple. And as I said, concurrently, that means like lifetimes of misfortune that have been withstood over and over again are being crunched into a concurrent sentence of abundance and favor and fortune in this breath of life for you, and then consecutively served in each lifetime after. And that may not be through you, but what I also see is the Page of Pentacles is through your legacy and your lineage. So your children, your children's children, their children's children, in perpetuity, eternally. That is the sentence, and I'm getting chills. For all that you endured, for all of your resilience, for all the ways that you maintained an alliance with integrity and with the divine. And like I said, you maintain your innocence, and it doesn't mean that you were perfect by any outside perspective or standard of that term. It's with the divine that you have been, how you have been judged, that has proved your innocence and your worthiness to such an amazing sentence in a landmark case. And like I said, this sets the tone not just for others to find their liberty, their restoration, their regeneration of innocence and liberty. Did I say liberty? Yes, I did. And freedom, let's just say. Let's double down on that too. But not just for them, but you know how it's said that sometimes, you know, that cycle of imprisonment can be passed down. Well, so can the cycle of liberty and the cycle of abundance and favor and fortune be passed down, not just in the physical and material sense, but absolutely in the spiritual one before anything. And as a matter of fact, it probably was the good stewarding over that spiritual inheritance, if you will, the trust and faith that was continuously passed down to through each lifetime, through each legacy, that you in this breath of life were somehow able to conserve and preserve through much trial and tribulation, through much resistance, much delay, much interference, much corruption, to still maintain this position as the Queen of Swords, devoted to truth, devoted to integrity, unyielding, unwavering. Oh yeah, triple for your trouble, if not more than. If not more than. That's just my human eyes. And you can rest. And I rest my case. You can rest your case on the truth. This is the trauma, that Three of Swords. Hang that up like a badge of honor on your wall, because fortunately and unfortunately, it has afforded you rest in perpetuity, an eternal rest in your waking life. From this, like I said, this is what was averted. Trial, tribulation, delay, denial, deception, mistrial, corruption, everything that you could have possibly faced in this lifetime and many past, and perhaps the culmination being transferred even to you in this waking life in ways that didn't have nothing to do with you, but you were given the task of exercising it and releasing it and transmuting it. It was an exhausting task indeed, especially going up a relentless energy such as this. It's like going to court representing yourself, which is not the case because the divine was representing you, but for all intents and purposes, representing yourself against like a multi-million-dollar establishment, conglomerate, like somebody that has an entity that has the resources to drag a trial out for years, for decades, forever, until they have it their way, because they feel you have much fewer resources to fight the battle than they do. And they would be right in the physical. But like I said, there was a divine protection and, what's the word when you have legal, is it legal protection? Representation. There it is. Divine representation that was here. That all you needed to do was to follow the instructions of your counsel. That's all you needed to do. Close your mouth when you need to close your mouth. Be discreet when it was called for. There was gag orders at times. Certain things you couldn't say, you couldn't talk about. There were certain stipulations on what you could do and how you could do it at times that felt limiting, but all in all, it was all for your protection and all to secure the most optimal outcome for this landmark case. And now here we are. Like I said, the defense rests, the prosecution rests. All parties are in agreement, heaven and earth, for the settlement that is effective immediately. Lifelong sentences in perpetuity of fortune, favor, and abundance. Case is adjourned. Or is it what? No. Court is adjourned. Court is adjourned. Wow. My God. So enjoy your freedom. Enjoy your liberty. Enjoy your restoration. And everything that comes along with your vindication. It's been well earned. For sure. Don't let nobody tell you differently or even suggest something contrary, because as far as the divine judge and ruling is concerned, this is both well overdue and right on time. So take that as you will. Thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.